Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 75 of Screwball, believe it or not. We're 25 away from episode 100, which is pretty crazy. But this week we got some cool news, actually, some record-breaking news, along with some, kind of bittersweet news, and just, general good stuff around baseball happening, and, we're getting close to playoff time, and everything's kind of going right. In baseball, I feel like, especially with the last week's Field of Dream game, and we'll get into that. But first, before we get in the news, as we kind of usually do, we'll get into our topic of conversation. Again, like I always say, that Frank brings up for us and that we end up talking about. This week's topic of conversation is centered around baseball IQ and just general baseball sense in the MLB right now. And the question proposed by Frank is, I'll hand it over to him in a sec, is basically, is baseball IQ in the MLB kind of going down? Like, do you see more players coming up and not having a general idea of how to play, how to play small ball and, steal bases, hit behind runners, bunt, and just generally be attentive when you're out and be able to think critically while you're out on the field? I think that's I think it's a little bit of a lost art in baseball. So I'll let Frank kind of handle the topic here as he always brings it up. So I don't know what you're kind of thinking with this one.
Just wanted to bring it up because with analytics and with a lot of that stuff going on, you see a lot of the IQ of baseball, I think, going down in the players, where the coaches, management, the team, they kind of give them the answers. Players don't really have the answers. It's, well, take 2 steps to the left, stand in this gap, move here, play up the middle. Why? Why though? Well, just do it. You see a lot of catchers look over to the dugout and get signs all game long. Not just sometimes or whatever. You got some catchers like Molina, he'll look over, don't get me wrong. Molina's catching his own game. He's calling his own game. A lot of times it's called over, almost like a college, little league, minors, where the coaches are running the show. So the players don't have to think.
Right.
It's kind of like in football. The coach is not letting the quarterback audible. Just call the plays. We're going to call it, you just run the play. There's not going to be no change in it. So the idea of that, I believe IQ in baseball is going down. And a big reason why I want to bring this up is because yesterday I watched that Dodgers game, and that was one of the worst defensive games I've ever seen. 1 out guy in second base. The guy gets a swing and bunt. Will Smith picks the ball up. Decides to take it the second out at first base. He tries to throw it at third base. The guy's safe. Well, 1 out there, you just take that at first. Now there's 2 outs. It has to get a hit to score. If there's no outs, okay, maybe you take that chance if you can get him out. Because now there's one, if you just take the guy out first, he's 1 out guy in third, he's going to score, 60% of the time. 2 outs, just take the out. Another play later in the game, very similar. Guy's not throwing to the right bases, just trucking it home. In the air. Not the idea of a 1 hop to the catcher. 1 hop to the catcher is just as fast, but also could be cut off. The idea of not knowing what base to throw to. It just seems like it's the IQ of the game, hitting behind runners. Sack flies. The Mets had 15 sack flies all year. They have 1 yesterday. As a team. That's it. Dodgers in that series at 5. That's just lack of awareness.
Right.
We see the Yankees early in the year not stealing bases, not hitting behind runners, swinging and missing. There's no IQ, no base running. Don't know where you're going with the base run. Knowing your own abilities and knowing where to go, when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive. We see that with the Yankees a lot. We see that with a lot of teams. Just the IQ of the game, the players going down, I think. Especially more at younger players, or as the older guys are kind of fading out because the game changed. Coaches and teams and analytics have given the guys the answers instead of really kind of figuring it out.
Right.
So that's why I just wanted to bring that up. I just think, not that the players aren't smart and don't know what's going on in baseball. It's just sometimes the answers are taken out of their hand or not asked of them. It's like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're just doing this. Oh, okay. Why, though? Instead of learning the game and learning why you're doing that, it was just like, we're just going to do this because the stats say we're going to do this. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, swing for the fence because that might win us. But why not hit behind the runner? Guy in second base, no outs. Just hit a ground ball. to the second baseman. Hit a fly ball to the right side. Bunt him over.
Yeah.
Just you almost play your own game. I got my own stats to worry about. Well, you also got your team you're trying to win for.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the main reason I want to bring up the Dodgers game yesterday, I just saw a lot of defense. You see a lot of defense like that. Guys just not throwing to the right base or not backing up plays or, just not knowing what's going on.
Right.
Not backing up the catcher. Or, you see a lot of throws over the catcher's head. And it just seems like it's just, when you break it down, you go, boy, you really should just cut that ball off. Or you really should just throw it to this base and just gave him that run. Or should have really took the extra base. We've seen, bloop hits and the guy's not running or not knowing where to go or, not knowing when to risk it, not knowing what arms to run on.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like they're almost controlled more like a little league team or a travel team or a young baseball team where it's like, okay, we're going to kind of tell you what to do. You just got to kind of do it.
Yeah.
Instead of really digesting the game, not really having to be told to hit behind the runner. You just know to hit behind the runner or you just know to take that extra base. And the teams that do that the best, the knowledge of the game, are usually the better teams.
Yeah.
As you see, the Astros, they don't strike out. They do stuff. They're still a better team. Dodgers, I know yesterday their defense was not great, but for the most part, they're usually aggressive on the base pass. The Padres, they're usually, you know what I mean? They seem like a lot of those guys in those teams kind of seem to know what's going on. But you have a lot of other teams that are just like being overcoached sometimes by the organization and by analytics.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of teams that have that problem. And it just seems to be a trend in baseball. I don't think it's a one-team thing anymore. I think it's kind of made its way to a lot of front office people. And then, there's a lot of front office change that we may not even see as baseball fans. People get moved around, and you get the guy behind the computer that's now with the Cardinals, and he was with the Blue Jays or something like that. And it just, things happen. And it's just the general direction of baseball. And that's fine, in certain cases, I don't have a problem with it. But, I don't mind analytics being intertwined with old school baseball. But when, like you said, it just seems like the computer's telling them what to do and the player's not actively out there. I mean, again, and you said it too, these guys aren't dumb. They're MLB players. They've been around the game for a long time in their life, and they are smarter than the average bear when it comes to baseball. They're generally going to outthink most guys that are in low A or high A now or whatever. So I do think that they're sharp and the coaches are sharp and you got to give them credit. But I think at the end of the day, the average player now probably doesn't have the baseball IQ as a guy that played in the 70s. And that's not to say that these players now aren't more athletic or more this or more that. It's just the general sense of playing the game. You're taught at a young age to manufacture runs. I don't know how they teach kids now with the analytics to get their, just to get the barrel out and get their, launch angle high or something like that. But, when you learn the game, you learn fundamentals. And I think that the game sometimes need to just be simplified back down to that, fundamentals. Because like you said,
fundamentals have kind of gone away as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is
against the shift we see, it's just like I said, the guys have the IQ. It's just almost like when you have a skill or a talent, you haven't rode a bike in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Until you forget it, you're just like, whoa, for a second.
Yeah.
That's how these guys are. Not that they don't know the IQ and don't know the game. They're not made to think about it as much.
Right.
It's just kind of told to them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So it's like the IQ of the game just seems to be going down, I think, as a player. And I don't know, maybe it's just I took more notice of it this year, but it just seems like a more general defense kind of going down and everyone trying to make the superstar play instead of making the smart baseball play. It's trying to make the superstar play and trying to make the big home run and instead of, just kind of doing what the smartest baseball play is.
Right.
Fitting in to your baseball role instead of being the superstar and everyone's got to be a superstar on every team. Just seems like that's kind of going down.
Mm-hmm.
That IQ, that real knowledge of the game.
Yeah.
Who do you look at in the MLB now and say, oh, he could be a manager?
It's true.
Molina, guys like that, because they're a little bit more old school.
I'm going to say the vets,
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, like Javier Baez ain't going to be managing my baseball team. It's something like that. It's got to be someone with a high IQ. We've seen with the Pirates. First baseman, just not knowing to go step on first base.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just the IQ going down because it's not made of them to think of the game as much. It's more just told, do this. But the deep details, the in between the lines details aren't really brought to the players or thought of by the players as much. Just thought that was kind of an interesting topic. And it really brought on by yesterday. Just watching that Sunday Night Baseball game with Dodgers defense not being great. Some of the stats about the Mets, 15 sac flies all year. And obviously their offense is way down. That makes sense. Just not playing the game smart on offense.
And us being Yankee fans, we've seen it all year and all last year, the shift towards analytic to it for a team that can just buy really whoever they want if they want to, and they're playing like the Rays. It's like, so, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's just that idea. Just like I said, a lot more controlled.
Right.
By coaches and the front offices and analytics, more than the pitchers really or the players really knowing what's going on, and just kind of team always runs themselves. You just got the coaches just there to call some signs and tell them who's playing, who's pitching when, as much as like, hey, you got to move here, you got to do this, you got to do this. Hey, remember, you got to steal here. Hey, remember, hit behind the runner. Just seems more that way instead of being like just second nature to some of these guys.
Yeah, it seems like the old school portion of baseball and the 101 baseball, the things that just every MLB player should know. Now it's set in a little spacey. Like maybe some guys just have a big power bat and that's all they're used for, and that's just what they do. 3 outcome player and all that. And I think that there is the higher expectation of a player to hit. I mean, it's always been if you can hit in the show, you're in. The defense is I always generally thought of as the second. If you're a great defender, that's gravy if you're a great defender. But if you could, well, yeah, that's true too, because especially back then, shortstop was if you could defend, then
you could bat 220 and play great defense and you'll find a spot.
Kind of same thing with catcher. If you can just bat, guys like Gary Sanchez, just as a quick example, like he doesn't really bat very high, but he hits home runs and he plays okay defense. So if you could just be the good backstop and hit a decent average, But generally, like, you've seen guys in the past that can just field and not really hit, and they usually don't make it because they can't, they don't provide much in the lineup. So, but I think that's even more stepped forward now, that it's kind of like, well, if you play average to generally you could even play below average defense, but if you can hit, who cares? That's how a lot of people think. And granted, I value offense over defense, but if you're out there, I'd rather have a net out there than there's a problem.
It also matters how the team's set up too.
Mm-hmm.
I got 5 offensive guys. I don't need to keep getting offensive guys. Maybe I get a guy who's more speed, or I get a guy with more defense.
Mm-hmm.
Helps, kind of round off the team instead of just stacking up one spot.
Right.
Stacking up my offense, but my defense is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that kind of concept in even football, you see.
Mm.
Well, my offense is great. My defense is giving up 50 points a game, but that ain't going to matter.
Yeah, it's because I'm scoring so much, yeah.
So you got to make sure, you kind of round off your team, but it's just that IQ, that baseball knowledge. I think it's kind of going down play by play, in the league. Just that's what I think. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I just think from watching baseball a lot every year, and multiple teams around the league, just seems that way. I see a lot more things like, what are you thinking there? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, oh, that makes. I see a lot more people, a lot more plays where I'm like, what are you doing? Then I'm like, wow, I didn't think of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Than I used to.
Yeah. Instead of being impressed, like, wow, that was a good idea. I can't believe they did that. Or just seeing a play that granted, we're probably, I'd say, more into baseball than the average fan, but still, you're right though. I don't feel surprised often. I feel like, oh yeah, that was stupid. Why'd you do that? Why was that the decision over this, which is pretty, again, baseball 101, so I'm in agreement with you. I just think that and it's like we always go back to, I think the balance of analytics and old school baseball, and just kind of let the players play and let the kids play, but in a different way. I think that there's a lot of value in that, and analytics are good too. It's not like we hate analytics. It's just that it seems like there's overcoaching and there's an overemphasis on the people in the front office, as opposed to just let the players get on the field and let them figure it out. They're good. They're MLB players. They're not babies. They can play the game. They're here for a reason. There's not many people that get to play in the MLB. So you got to kind of just let them be them. And stop forcing yourself on these players.
Yeah.
And you see, like people had their thoughts about Tony La Russa. Was he going to be able to work out with a young team like that? And you see, granted, their division is exactly the most competitive in baseball, but they've worked out fine.
And that's a guy who's got some of the greatest, if not the best, baseball IQ up there with Showalter and guys like that.
Yep. So
but also old school guys, as you can see, been around the game a long time and kind of know the ins and out of everything.
Yeah, so it can work, and it has proven to work. And I don't know. I just think that baseball needs to just take a step back and look at itself and say, hey, we can play one-on-one baseball, and that's okay. We can have a guy with a 300 average. It's okay. But with that, I think we should get into the news segment of the podcast. So first piece of news is really cool, really record-breaking news we kind of been flirting with for a while. But Tyler Gilbert for the Diamondbacks has thrown the 8th no-hitter of the year against the Padres, breaking the record for 1 year amount of no-hitters in the modern era. This was also Tyler Gilbert's first career start, which makes him part of a very exclusive club of only four to throw a no-hitter in their first career start. If you heard of some of these guys, good for you. But the other three are Theodore Breitenstein.
What year was that?
1891.
Thank you.
Number 2 was Bumpus Jones in 1892, the next year.
Bumpus on the bump.
Yeah, Bumpus on the bump. And the third one is Bobo Holloman in 1953.
Bobo.
So it hasn't been done since 1953, first of all. And then before that, there was only one done in the live ball era. So
in the 1900s.
Yeah, exactly. So very cool stat there. Good for him. I know I seen the clip just before of his dad was there, his parents. It looked like cool. Maybe his grandpa or something like that, an uncle really cool. So good for him. Hopefully, I think he's already 27. I think he's a little bit older.
Yeah, I think it was his third time pitching in the majors or fourth time pitching. That was his first start. And then a team that's, I think it was, if not the record, I think it was one of the lowest win percentage for a team to throw a no-hitter of all time, like a 313 win percentage or something like that. So great news for Diamondbacks fans and a little glimmer of hope and a miserable season out there. So,
yeah,
it's just something pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and he'll always be attached to baseball history now, no matter where he goes from here. So he could retire tomorrow. He'll be in the history books. So good for him. It's cool. Number 2 is, as one is entering, one's leaving. Chris Davis is retiring. Last week, the Orioles Chris Davis, not Chris Davis with a K. He officially retired after a few seasons marred in injuries and really a fall from grace from his 2013, 2014 kind of time with the Orioles. He was signed to a very lucrative contract, and while the majority of the contract will be paid off next year, the contract has deferrals all the way out until 2037. He's being deferred payment out till.
And Bonilla will still be paid after he gets paid.
This is just tremendous. So we wish Chris Davis the best. Obviously, he had some years where he hit 50 home runs. He had some really years where he was a feared hitter at the plate. But the rest of it, the last few years really, really, really hasn't worked out for him. So
5, maybe a little longer, maybe 10 years, if he'd make a comeback at Orioles, Camden Yards or something. If he would be brought back.
Yeah, what would be the reception?
Like if they brought him back, they had like a reunion or just brought some former players back or something. If he would be, if they would ask him to bring back, or if he did get back, what his ovation would be after awfulness with the contracts at the end there.
Yeah, because
But he helped put them back on the map.
I was gonna say, in the time he was there with you had Nelson Cruz there and Manny Machado was there and
Mark Trumbo,
you had a really good Oriole team that almost made it to the World Series. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Matt Wieters.
They had some very good years, and in those times he should be proud of the team he was with and how he played. But the most recent memory of him is just him
awfulness.
Being paid a lot to do nothing. So
absolutely nothing.
So maybe in time, they'll welcome him back and be like, hey, he was really part of some good teams, but man, he'll still be getting paid well after he's retired here. So in that way, good for him. He made out with his money. But so we wish him the best in retirement. But maybe the Orioles, after next year, I think he gets paid $22 million. So that'll be some money off their back. Maybe they can, as their prospects start to come up, they can start spending again. So we'll see. Yeah. They're not doing the best right now. So. Third piece of news here is Honus Wagner is in the news. The T206 Honus Wagner card dating back to 1909 has sold at auction for $6.6 million, making it the most valuable sports card of all time. The bidding opened at $1 million and went all the way up past the 1952 Mickey Mantle card that sold for $5.2 million just earlier this year.
And the expected Babe Ruth card.
Right.
It was expected to break the record. I think they're like 5.5. I don't know if that ever went up or what the details are of that, but that was expected to go this year too, to 1933.
Right. Right.
Babe Ruth technically rookie card. I'm not going to get into why it's a rookie card, but Yeah, I mean, a Honus Wagner card, obviously, everyone knows that. But it was awesome to see that in the news. Actually, as cards of all types of collections, especially sports cards, the market through the roof since beginning of 2020.
Is that right?
Yeah, the market's through the roof. You've seen Pokemon cards go nuts.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Trading cards and the sports memorabilia market has went through the roof.
Yeah. So if you're sitting on some cards, maybe now's the time to start thinking about selling. If you want, if you want to capitalize on the market. If not, hold on to them and see what happens. But yeah, very cool. Obviously, Honus Wagner was always kind of considered the holy grail of cards. If you had a Honus Wagner, because I read briefly on it. I may be misquoting, but I believe they only had it in cigarette packs for just a few years with Honus Wagner. So not only was it rare to get them, but it was also rare because of how short-lived the run was in the cigarette packs. And kids generally couldn't. I mean, rules were a little looser back then, but kids generally couldn't just get. It wasn't like when it was in packs of gum. You could just go get packs of gum.
Just goes. The card just goes away, goes on someone's table and falls down and goes away, and they throw it out and all the other crap, so you don't have them.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible. I believe it was only graded 3. I mean, it's in great shape. The grading system's incredibly hard, but. I mean, you find one of them, you're talking $1 million right out the window.
Easy.
Just finding one.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here it is. It's $1 million.
Yeah.
Done. Right there. You got it. You're just like, all right, I'm all right.
Yeah, when I read the article, I believe there was only 50 or 60 known at all. So if you have one, even if it's a little tarnished and could be graded to low degree.
If you graded like 0, you're going to get $1 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you got one, maybe start thinking about if you need some money.
Yeah, I'll give you $5 for it. So, some other news I got here. Spencer Torkelson promoted to AAA, one of baseball's top prospects. So that's pretty cool. The MLB has announced, or has been, in rumors with for a while, but actually been talking about more recently, working on tanking and how to prevent that and how to get most every team at least staying somewhat competitive. Kind of what you want to see, we see with the Mariners, or we see with Detroit, where they're like, hey, we kind of know where we're at, but we also, playing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can just kind of keep everyone kind of like that instead of preventing teams. I also lose for 100 straight losses for 5 straight years on purpose. Cubs, Astros, what we're seeing with the Orioles. So baseball's working on that. It will be, especially with the CBA coming up. That's what makes it the big news.
Right.
And last little bit of news here, we had Mets break a record yesterday. Mets broke the record for most consecutive games without a triple with 68 games and counting.
It's weird.
That's a relatively big ballpark in the gaps.
I was just going to say, they have a kind of a big ballpark. It's not like they have like Yankee Stadium or Baltimore or I don't even know. It would be another small ballpark. But yeah, they have it's on the bigger side. They even had to move the fences in when it was first built. It was a big ballpark.
And you got some other stadiums in the division. Marlins.
Yeah.
Atlanta's new stadium's relatively straight up, but even Citizens Bank Park, the way it bounces off of the left center, it's usually a triple. So, I mean, Nationals Park, I guess, is just kind of straight up as well with Atlanta's new stadium. But there's a couple stadiums in the division that you play all the time. You'd think, hey, you get triple once in a while.
Get something, yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't have just a team of slow guys. They have generally kind of speedy guys. Not speedy guys like you have base stealers, but you have guys that can run. So, I don't know, maybe just...
Conforto, McNeil, Lindor.
Yeah, maybe balls and bounce their way or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so... But that was just a small little news I wanted, I seen it yesterday. Again, of course, with the Sunday Night Baseball, I seen that they broke that record. And I'm like, well, there you go. That's why they're struggling on offense. They don't sec flies, they don't have triples. I mean, there you go.
Yeah, there's probably an analytical team right there. So the wrap-up we have left here in the news is who's doing the best right now. The Giants still own the best record in the league at 76-42, pretty far and away ahead, with the Dodgers and the Brewers right behind them in the NL. With the Dodgers at 72-46 and the Brewers at 72-47. 2 of those teams I had no idea would be on this list in August, so good for them, I guess. Over in the AL, the Rays hold the best record. Again, just a team I didn't think would be here. Rays hold the best record at 71-47 with the Astros right behind them at 70-47. Dodgers own the best run differential in the league at plus 193, and the Orioles own the worst at minus 207. So no more Diamondbacks. The Orioles... I believe are on an 11-game losing streak and now own the worst run differential at minus 207. And I got to be honest, these we've had some bad teams this year with the Orioles and Diamondbacks and Rangers and these teams. But I got to say, the Diamondbacks never made sense to me. They have talent. And the Orioles, to be fair, we see them a lot as Yankee fans. They have talent. They're not like Granted, they're not good.
No.
I'm not going to sit here and defend them. But to be this bad, it doesn't make sense to me either.
I think
If you're understanding kind of what I'm...
Yeah, they're marred in an awful spot with the division.
Well, that's
4 teams in the playoff race.
That's true. They do get beat up on a lot. Race. Yeah.
Then we don't have to play our division. Who we got to go play? Oh, let's go play the White Sox.
Yeah.
Let's go play the Astros, the A's, the Angels. Even the Angels are 500, but still talent.
Right.
So they're just marred in a bad situation.
Yeah, and they don't really have pitching.
And if you face the people at the wrong time, in a wrong stretch, it's just...
In a hitter-friendly ballpark, you have teams come to town like the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Blue Jays, who have an unbelievable run differential. They're just going to mash in Camden Yards. So, I get it, but I don't understand why they're this bad, is what I'm trying to... I just don't, because they got Cedric Mullins having a fantastic year. Ryan Mountcastle's great. Trey Mancini's great. And you'd think if you have some stars like that, you'd figure some games out, but I don't know. I'm just trying to give them some love here.
They'll be all right soon.
Yeah. With Adley Rutschman, I believe, was the number 1 prospect he was named. So
they'll be good soon, though. If you can just wait for them. But
yeah.
Some other teams I got here that are hot. The Rays, obviously. Yankees playing well. Twins, finally. But that's they're like 30 games out, so that's a little too late.
A little too late.
A's playing well. Braves red hot. Cardinals red hot, 8-2 over the last 10.
Mm-hmm.
Told somebody they thought I was crazy. I said, watch Cardinals, 10 games out of the division, they'll come back and win that thing. 4 games out of the wild card, they'll make the playoffs, go nuts, go to the World Series. You know how it goes. It'll be Cardinals Giants in the NLCS.
That'd be insane.
Exactly how everybody wanted.
In 2021.
Cardinals made more sense, but Giants, no.
Yeah, I don't.
So, and then obviously the Giants playing well. So, some cold teams here, as we already mentioned: the Orioles, the Royals, the Mets, the Nationals, Cubs, second 11-game losing streak of the year, and the Pirates. Some of that makes sense, some of it doesn't, but those are some cold teams that are really at a low mark in the season.
Yep.
Mets, they're a game over 500.
That division.
They went from first, and in 3 days they went to third, and then 5 days they went to a game over 500.
That division stinks.
Best division in baseball, they said.
Yeah, I know.
That's not true at all.
Yeah,
they're not the best division in baseball.
No.
I think they're probably the worst. Well, AL Central is bad. Other than the White Sox is relatively bad, but they're not far behind.
No, and even we thought, the Nationals would be okay. I mean, they sold, so it is what it is. But thought they'd be okay, Phillies be okay, Mets be okay. We thought the Braves would be really, really good, and they just been meddling all season. They're finally sole possession of first.
Yeah,
after I've been talking them up all year.
They're gonna go nuts. Jorge Soler's has been the infield's gonna have 30 home runs. Every guy.
I know.
In the infield, it's gonna be the first time ever.
I know.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, Freeman, Swanson, Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies.
Yeah, Ozzie Albies. Yeah. You're in a whole infield. It's the first time ever. They're on pace for it.
Yep.
It's just how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, the talent's finally shining through for a lot of teams too.
And they're getting some health.
Yeah. Yeah, which, the Mets just can't seem to get on that side of it. They're always on the injured side of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So.
And then when they're healthy, they're bad. Let's just get right down to it. Conforto's having the worst year you could possibly ask. Lindor's been terrible. McNeil's a 260 hitter. You say that's not too bad, but he should be 300. J.D. Davis is actually hitting the ball relatively well. Defensively, not great.
Yeah.
James McCann's offense is a little bit down than you would kind of expected. Pete Alonso's kind of doing all right. Dominic Smith, I don't think, is hitting enough power as he really should be.
Yeah.
Then your center field position, you just never really expect much. Brandon Nimmo, he's doing all right. Pilar, I don't know.
And the pitching can't get healthy.
And the bullpen's that's the Mets bullpen. It's just how it always going to be. So Edwin Diaz is relatively having a pretty good year compared to what he's been having. So you can't really complain there. But the rest of the guys are, Seth Lugo hasn't stepped up after coming back. I don't know. It's just a mess. And that's how the Mets are. But
yeah, that division it was really any of them for the taking. If any of those teams really had a real altogether had a good year, really could have taken the division and just ran with it.
The Mets would be in every newspaper, every major headline, if it wasn't this year for that division. That's how bad they've been. They're 1 game over 500, but they've been masked by the Yankees. But the Yankees are 13 games over now at this point.
But they're in the most
since
competitive
the Mets are
division.
Still a game, 2.5 out of the division now. Still,
yeah, something like that.
But they've been really that bad.
Right.
But since they're still in the hunt and they're in first place for a while, I don't think I think about it. If
right.
that was a normal year where that team's, first place team's got 68 wins and the Mets would be 10, 12 games out, it would be panic button, people getting, who knows, fired, owners already giving up the team, who the hell knows what's going on, because the Mets always have some sort of emergency issues going on over there. But
you could take any of the AL East team and throw them in the NL East, and to almost immediately be in first.
Yeah.
So that's how that division's been all year. I just don't.
Cardinals would be in first. I think they're 4 or 5 games over 500, and they're 10 out of their division. They'd be in first in that division.
Yeah, the Reds right ahead of them in that same division would be like cruising in that at least. It's weird.
Like the Nationals are like 7 games back, and they're awful.
Yeah. They got rid of their whole team just about.
So I don't know. It's good.
Yeah.
It's the Mets. It's Mets baseball. So.
Well, with that, why don't we get into our who's hot and who's not section of the show? So we'll start off with the hot players. There's only one hot hitter I have because Tyler Gilbert obviously was the player of the week for the NL.
Yeah, surprise.
So the number one hot player I have and the AL player of the week, Teoscar Hernandez, batted .500 over the last week with an 893 slugging and a 1393 OPS. Number 2, I have Josh Rojas, a .476 average over the last week with an 857 slugging and a 1379 OPS. Number 3 is Michael Conforto with a .450 average over the last week, a 700 slugging and an 1176 OPS. Number 4, Dansby Swanson, .435 average, a 957 slugging, and a 1418 OPS over the last week. And finally, RBI extraordinaire Jesus Aguilar is batting .429 over the last week with an 857 slugging and a 1357 OPS.
Incredible.
Well, braces and all.
Yeah, leading the league in RBIs, and a team that's bottom 5 in runs scored, but he's leading the league in RBIs. Incredible.
I don't know.
Some other hitters here: Jose Abreu, Matt Chapman on a hot streak, Ty France. I believe you mentioned Dansby Swanson, and Whit Merrifield. Those some guys I had thrown in there. That you didn't have on yours. Some pitchers. Obviously Tyler Gilbert, there's no hitter. Tristan McKenzie. On the 9-year anniversary of Felix Hernandez's perfect game, which was the last perfect game we've seen. He almost threw a perfect game. He was 4 outs away. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
Jay Happ, last 2 starts, been really good. Mark Gonzalez, complete game, 1 run. And Joe Barlow, 3 or 4 innings out of the bullpen for the Royals and a couple saves over the last 7 days. So he's been doing pretty good.
Okay.
There's some pitchers there that are doing pretty well.
All right. Good for them. Moving on to the cold list, the who's not section of who's hot and who's not. Number 1, Franmil Reyes. .050 average over the last week, a .050 slugging, and a 258 OPS.
A Franimal.
He's a maniac. Number 2, Mark Hanna, a .087 average over the last week with a 261 slugging and a 453 OPS. Number 3, Nelson Cruz, 125 average over the last week with a 292 slugging and a 484 OPS. Number 4, David Bodie, 130 average over the last week, a 261 slugging and a 428 OPS. And number 5, Manny Machado, had a 136 average over the last week, a 136 slugging, and a 345 OPS. I must say, they're cold. Don't get me wrong, they're not hitting great. But I've seen much worse cold lists.
Yeah.
There's been people 0 for 20, 0 for 19.
I was surprised. You look down and you had a bunch of guys at least in the hundreds. Usually you have like 30 guys who were under 100. You're like,
yeah. This week at least, like their coldest guy, Franmil Reyes, had a 258 OPS, which is not a great average. Like it's an okay average. But let alone an OPS, it's not great. But, like, we've seen people with almost, like, a 0 OPS for the week. So, there's something there.
Yeah. You mentioned some of these cold guys. I got some other guys. A bunch of these guys are actually on my fantasy team, which is funny. I did win this week, though, so somehow. But Austin Meadows, Josh Bell, you mentioned Morcana. I have all 3 of those on my team. They're all cold, so go me. Brad Miller, struggling, and Andrew McCutcheon. There's some guys, some hitters struggling. Some pitchers, talking Matt Barnes has been struggling for a little while. Zach Britton getting beat up. Carlos Carrasco got destroyed yesterday. Jose Barrios and Jake Arrieta, who's actually designated for assignment. And the Padres actually signed him today to a minor league deal, but he's been pitching awful all year. And bad last year, and really the year before, not great either.
I think he has like almost a 70 ERA this year. Just terrible.
Yeah, so not great.
No, not at all.
The next, to get into the next thing, going to some injuries. Not the worst week we've had, so that's always good. We've had a couple decent weeks in a row, injury news-wise. Of course, George Springer was playing great. He left the game early. He's trying to get MRIs on his ankle and whatnot. Adalberto Mondesi, the little bit he's played this year has been great, but another setback in his rehab. Luis Severino, another setback. He'll never pitch again. He got Carl Pavano disease or something for the Yankees, or Nick Johnson, something. Carlos Rodon placed on the IL, shoulder fatigue. They said MRI came back. It's just shoulder fatigue, which is great. Kim for the Cardinals, placed on the IL. We talk about this guy every week almost at this point, and I never get his name right. Alois Lay for the Cubs.
Yeah.
You got him. He on the IL. Joe Ross, partially tear at UCL, So Tommy John's probably going to go his way, which is really a shame because he's been pitching pretty well.
Right.
But there you go with him. Javier Baez placed on the IL with a hip issue. Kyle Tucker on the IL, and Julio Urias placed on the IL. On the better side of the news, you got the Yankees mostly getting healthy from their COVID and whatnot. Cole back today. Sanchez expected back tomorrow. Jordan Montgomery expected back tomorrow. We have Rizzo expected back later this week, and Urshela probably back early next week. So they're all kind of getting healthy at the same time. Chris Sale finally back, pitched 5 innings, 8 strikeouts. Thank God he's back. Looked great. 2 home runs. That was really all he gave up.
Yeah.
But 8 strikeouts, no walks, throwing 95 miles per hour. Looked great. But back. So we can finally take him off our injury list, hopefully. Trout, they said they're not shutting down, but not really progressing as fast as they wanted.
Been out since May.
Yeah. Yanoa for the Braves. Expected this pitch in the next couple days for the Braves. DeGrom shut down 2 more weeks. Francisco Lindor, he said he doesn't need a rehab game. He thinks he can come back right now. So the talk is he'll be back in the next couple days.
From an oblique strain.
And a guy who's batting .220. Maybe you should go get some minor league games. Maybe feel good about yourself. But the Mets can't wait around. So I guess they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, that's true.
Jack Flaherty back. Activated and pitched the other day. Fernando Tatis back playing outfield. Says it's... Yes, outfield, you're less involved every play than a shortstop. But if you do dive in the outfield, the pressure on that arm is way more than you are in the infield.
Right.
You're diving in the outfield full speed and in the air. While the infield, you're going down to the ground. But yet you are less involved as an outfielder than you are as a shortstop. You're getting every ball, you're cutting bases and stuff like that. But the dive and running into the wall. So that risk is there. But so I don't know if you could say that it's more to save his arm or hurt his shoulder for the year. I don't know. I think it's more like, hey, we have a guy, Cronenworth, someone who could play shortstop that's not going to make 38 errors already. Because I think Tatis has, 27?
He's got a lot, yeah.
So maybe we're like, go play outfield.
Yeah. Just go out there. You'll be all right.
Yeah, so I think that was more of it. Kershaw playing catch. Cueto playing catch. They're both expected to be back here maybe late August, beginning of September. So it was relatively good news for a lot of contenders here.
Okay. Yeah, good for them. You always like to see the better side of the news or just a general short list, for whatever it is.
Longer back half of our list is usually a good thing.
Yeah.
That means a lot of guys are more returning than going out.
Yeah. So, I mean, who do we have left? Obviously, Acuna's out for the year, but if Trout can come back at some point, you got one of the stars.
Yeah, Rendon's out for the year. I mean, we can go into there's a bunch of guys, but at least we're having better news on some of these guys.
Right.
So that's always good.
Yeah.
And to get to our last, segment here, or section, is a trivia question. And this week's trivia question is, Joe Musgrove threw a no-hitter this year. And with Tyler Gilbert's no-hitter, he had one thrown against him in the same year. Who was the last pitcher to do that?
I forgot.
Yeah, and it was relatively recent. So the last pitcher to throw a no-hitter and have a no-hitter thrown against him in the same year was in 2015. It was July 25th, 2015. Jake Arrieta. When Cole Hamels threw his no-hitter against him, that was the last time. Arrieta ended up throwing a no-hitter later on that year, but still. So the first pitcher, or the last pitcher to have a no-hitter thrown against him, and he threw a no-hitter in the same year, was Jake Arrieta in 2015. Before, obviously, Saturday when Musgrove had happened to him.
Yep.
And he joined a list of the following guys. 2015, Arrieta was the last one. 2013, Tim Lincecum. 1963, Juan Marichal. 1962, Bo Belinsky. 1951, Bob Feller. 1947, Bill McCanahan. 1944, Jim Tobin. 1970, Eddie Cicotti. 1906, Mal Eason. Then you get to these guys.
Yeah.
1883, One Arm Daly.
Oh my God.
And 1880, Pud Galvin. I had to go through that list because he had One Arm Daly, Pud Galvin, even Mal Eason. That's 2 separate. Mal Eason. It just sounds like one name, Mal Eason. Great.
It's like a Key and Peele skit where the names just get more ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. One Arm Daly.
Yeah. What he had construction noise. Remember that guy from that Key and Peele?
Oh yeah.
It was construction noise. He just opened his mouth and it was just like a jackhammer.
Yeah, it was just. Yeah. Yeah, it's like those guys were playing back then.
Yeah, One Arm Daly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, just to go over the trivia question, this year, Joe Musgrove threw a no-hitter. Also had one thrown against him. Who was the last pitcher before him to have that happen to him in the same year? And that was in 2015 with Jake Arrieta.
Yeah, it's a good one. But I'm gonna look up I have to look up One Arm Daly.
Yeah, One Arm Daly. I said before, we talked about Bumpus.
Yeah.
Bumpus Jones, Bumpus on the bump.
Yeah, I didn't know this guy spelled his last name Daly like Daily News. That was Daley, like a normal person.
Like Daily. It's it's the daily grind.
Right. His name was Hugh Daly, and he was born in 1847. He lived, it looks like, he lived 66 years, something like that. He only played 5 years. Born in Ireland, of course.
A great 5 years.
So the first thing when you get on the page is his nickname, because everyone wants to know why he was named One Arm Daly.
Of course.
So it was in reference to his left arm. This is all quoting from Wikipedia, by the way. So
which is a great source.
Yeah, you can just kind of take it with a grain of salt almost sometimes. So he lost his left hand to a gun accident earlier in his life, and to compensate for his injury, he fixed a special pad over the affected area and caught the baseball by trapping it between the pad and his right hand. Sometimes after long games of having to catch the baseball this way, his stump would become sensitive. So sensitive, in fact, that he once punched his catcher for not heeding his warning to throw balls back to him softer. He was known for his bad disposition, and he was described as having a volatile temper. Other sources add to that: mean, contemptuous, and uncommunicative. While his behavior was not well liked by the baseball establishment, he was popular with the home crowds because his verbal tirades against umpires and opposing players alike.
Incredible.
What a man.
I tell you what, imagine having him versus Ty Cobb.
Oh my God. They were just like, look at the teams he played for. Buffalo Bisons,
Sure.
Cleveland Blues, St. Louis Maroons. They played for the Washington Nationals in 1886. Cleveland Blues.
That's incredible.
Had a 2.92 ERA in his career.
Incredible. The game of baseball is just incredible. It's like 3 different sports. You got a guy who just punched his own catcher and goes nuts, and it's the same game as we're watching right today. Garrett Cole's on the mound, and we got guys punching people with a pad on his nub.
I know. There's just such a disconnect in old baseball to now. The world was so different. But I just noticed this as I'm reading this. There's no specific date in which he died. It just says after 1923. So if you go on Wikipedia, it says born July 17th, 1847 in Ireland. It says died, unknown, last confirmed alive in 1923. So who knows when he really died? It's just he died at some point after 1923. We don't know what happened to him.
He could have lived till 1950s.
Sure. Yeah, if he was
You tell me you couldn't find the guy with one hand.
Yeah, with the stump, with the,
You'd think you would at least narrow down your population.
Yeah, I know.
An Irishman with one hand.
Yeah.
Bad temper would narrow it down with the Irishman, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he drank a few too, right? No,
sure.
No, it couldn't have been him. No. That's they should be. Field of Dreams was great.
Mm.
It was great. It was a great game and record breaking and all that stuff. They should bring back a series where the guy's got to play with some of these old rules and bats and balls and now that would be exciting.
Just one game,
like an expedition game or something.
Yeah, where it doesn't count towards anything. It's just like
that should be the All-Star game. Oh, just so you could really bring back the old one-arm Daly and just nuts.
That'd be amazing. It'd be absolutely amazing.
That'd be great. But the Field of Dreams was awesome. Coming out of the corn was great. I thought that was unbelievable. Field looked great. I'm glad they're going to go back there every year. This week we got the Williamsport they're going to play at.
Yep.
But
who's playing there again? What are the two
Angels
teams?
and the Cleveland Indians. So the
Okay.
kids got a little short end of the stick. The Angels, you got Ohtani, but you would have had Rendon and Trout and Pujols at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that was probably
now
the
you just
thought.
have Ohtani and maybe Trout will be around. And the Indians, you had a shot at Lindor, but then that kind of went away. Bieber is hurt, so maybe he won't be around. So you got Jose Ramirez and maybe Franmil Reyes, but still great. But also, today is actually, I believe it was the 73rd anniversary of Babe Ruth's death.
Oh.
What's crazy is you don't hear a word about it in MLB.
Yeah, it is weird.
You'd think they would say something about that because he is, and will be the greatest baseball player of all time.
I didn't even see that today.
No, the Hall of Fame posted it. I see.
Oh, okay.
I think there should have been a thing before every game, a short little stoppage, because he is the greatest. He is baseball.
Yeah.
So just weird how some players would get that recognition,
Mm-hmm.
but Babe Ruth never did. Even with his number not even getting retired.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Just didn't make much sense to me, I guess.
And as far as I know, I mean, we both, I feel like you probably know, almost surely know more about Ruth than me, but I feel like the guy, like if they wanted to distance himself from his behavior, it's like a Ty Cobb, where he's really like, he was really an SOB. Babe Ruth, yeah, he had, believe me, he threw dirt in the umpire's face. But that was how baseball was. But I don't think Babe Ruth generally was like.
No, baseball wants him.
Right.
Baseball still wants him.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just give him Babe Ruth Day, which they don't really even talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But like, retire his number. No one should wear 3. Come on, no one should wear 3.
Yeah, because everyone that wears 3, you kind of know.
Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
No one should wear the number 3. It's just how it should be. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but we lost him before he should have died, way before. But I think did he have cancer?
Yeah, throat cancer.
Yeah.
It was only 2 months after he retired his number.
Mm.
So the Yankees got him. They got his number and gave him his farewell, which was at the very least.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. We have here in 2 days Michael Bay's birthday. He'll be 90.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding. He'll be
the inside.
He'll be 25. So Mike's birthday will be actually the day we post this. So happy birthday to Mike, and hopefully he enjoys his day.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll try not to get too drunk, or I do have work. I mean, I do work from home, so there's that.
Anything's possible, popsicle.
That's true. You're right.
And if it would have been 2 days earlier, you'd have been born on the Babe Ruth thing, and I probably would have beat the snot out of you.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But
yeah.
you did it. It's your fault.
Yeah, I did this.
Yeah. So Mike's birthday is coming up in 2 days, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's coming up on Wednesday, and we'll celebrate it that day, and maybe we'll have something going on the weekend. I'm not sure yet. I'm pretty whatever with my birthday. It's just like whatever happens.
Yeah,
but
just get him a cheesesteak.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
But that's kind of all I got for this episode. We brought up the Field of Dreams game was awesome. I thought it was one of the better things that baseball's done in a while. Really great idea, great execution. Having Kevin Costner come out and do the whole thing and have the players come out of the corn, and the game itself was awesome. It didn't end as great for us as Yankee fans. It could have been one of the great wins for us, but still, I love Tim Anderson, the White Sox, so it was great. Great win for them, and just a really storybook ending to the first Field of Dreams game. So that was awesome, and we've got playoff pushes coming, and like I said at the top of the show, just a great time in baseball. But overall, that's kind of all I got for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I know the original Field of Dreams, where it came from, was actually about Shoeless Joe, I believe. It was the original, the book. So to see the White Sox kind of hit a walk-off home run and the old kind of Shoeless Joe jerseys, and it just kind of seemed to all go together.
Right.
But yeah, it was great. So other than that, that's pretty much it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Then let's I guess if that's it, then let's wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.